welcome to the Chicago Justice Project's Volunteer Training tutorial here. And first of all, I'd like to thank you about your interest in volunteering for the Chicago Justice Project in support of our mission and our media project here. What you see in front of you is a website that we've created basically about the end of May, beginning of June 2011. And this is the media coding interface that you'll be using for your coding and all your work with the website. So first of all, you hit login. You'll get your own username and password. You know you're logged in, you'll get a little more access here to controls. So this is basically the interface. What this is our servers are using software we have written to capture content around crime and violence from all of these resources, all of these local news outlets. And we're doing this so that we can monitor reporting on locally here in Chicago on crime and violence. And then we're going to be able to study it and then hopefully hold the media accountable for the reporting about how accurately it reports to how crime and violence actually occurs in the city. So first of all, let me just show you around here a little bit. Here's the title of the article, the news source, whether it's crime related or not, we'll get back to that in a second. The categories, which we'll get back to in a second. The load date, the last time it was updated. Most of the time that's exactly the same time. The original URL, this will take you to the original URL. If you click on it, it'll take you to the original web page where we got the content, and then view. So basically what we're asking people to do is review the articles, read them, see if they qualify under our guidelines, which we'll get into in a minute. And if they do, you'll be clicking at crime related. If it doesn't, you'll mark it as not crime related. And if it, so let's take one, well, this one, yeah, this business one, this isn't, most likely is not. So this is the interface, and you'll see all these codes here for content, and we'll get to that in a minute, but those are the codes you'll be using. So basically what you do, you read the article, and a lot of them you're going to be able to determine pretty quickly. There's a growing debate about whether business students should choose traditional business degrees. Okay, you can tell pretty quickly this is not crime related. So if it's not crime related, you'll hit mark not crime related. When you do that, when the computer accepts it, database accepts it, you'll see crime related has been updated. Now just to show you what happens, you can return the previous page. You'll see that article seemed to have disappeared. It's still in the database. Don't panic in case you've made a mistake. It's just we only view the stuff that is crime related. So if you want to see the stuff that isn't crime related, you can hit that, hit search, and it should pop back up. There you go. It's not there. Hide it. Get rid of that. Hit search, or clear would have been fine too. It goes back. Okay. If in case robber targeting people in Wicker Park. This one is, you would read the article, you'd then click, let's see, it says Chicago Police in there. So you'd go back, it's related to Chicago Police Department, hit update categories. You'll see categories have been updated. You can return to the previous page. And when you do that, you'll see whatever categories you clicked and then hit update categories will appear in this categories box, or most of them should. So you'll know it's been coded. So what we'll do is we assign original coders, which is what you will be, most of you will be, a certain date range. So you'll pump it in here, whatever the date range is, and let's just use it. It's usually from Sundays, so we can just do January 25th to the 31st and hit search. And this will narrow down the field. So you'll see it's just 339 articles. That'll typically be a week's time that we give coders. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And you go through and you review all of these articles. And you code them, mark them not crime related if so. And basically what's going to happen, hopefully in the next few weeks, is we've been doing this for now, God, it's going to be almost 4 years. So let me just give you an idea. of how many articles. It takes a second for the count. But basically, humans have been doing coding since September of 2011. We're using that human coding to train algorithms, to train the computers basically, to do the original coding themselves. So soon, all the original coders will be going to validate it, because when it's pulled down into the database, its original state will have all the categories in it. So you'll be just validating the computer coding sometime in the next month or two. So just to give you an article, these down here is what you're really concerned about. Our volunteers have coded 100, and it's not all of them, but we've had 168,000, a little over 168,000 articles in our database. The vast majority have been coded. All the crime, if you get categorized articles, 33,000, all of those have been coded as being relevant. The vast majority of the 136,000 have already been coded as to not be relevant. If for some reason you code an article, and let's clear this first of all. All right, and you coded an article, and we got that one, and you're like, oh, I coded an article not relevant, but it may have been. So you go show crime not related during your search terms, hit search, it'll pop back up. Go back into here, mark crime related, see that done, go back, and then you code it obviously. And you go back and see the X is gone. Very easy fix. If you have any problems or you're nervous about something, please just email me. That's basically how the interface works. It's a very, very simple one. It's meant to be that way on purpose. Hopefully within the next month or two, when the algorithm gets working and it's installed, this interface will change some, and then we may have a new training depending on how much the architecture is changed in the final version. So here is the manual. So this is basically what you do. You sign on, you read the articles thoroughly, you categorize them as whether or not they're relevant. We'll get to that in a minute. And then if they are relevant, you code the content. Very easy. Sign on, you got the URL. I went through this. Read, relevancy. Here's the big part. So basically, if something isn't relevant, mark not crime related. Very easy, right? What is relevant? Well, it's reporting that covers any crime, violence, or victimization that occurs in Chicago, whether or not the victimization occurred to a Chicago resident or whether or not the perpetrator was. It could have been two people in here in a domestic incident that were visiting a friend. Don't care if it had occurred in Chicago, we want it. Then the second tier is Chicago residents who are the victim or perpetrators of crime, whether or not it occurs in Chicago. So it could be around the country. Chicago man murders his girlfriend on a trip to Maine or Peru or Germany. That's fine. Then the third one is specific criminal justice agency. So in these codes, we'll just go back to it real quick. In these codes, you'll see Chicago Police Board, Chicago Police Department, Cook County Circuit Court, Cook County Jail, Cook County Public Defender's Office. Basically, what you have there is many, many criminal justice agencies. We want any reporting that covers anything that's going on with those specific agencies, whether or not it's crime-related. A lot of the time, it'll be about promotions or transfers or politics involving the leadership. We want all of that, okay? And if it falls under any of those categories that I explained, then you judge the content. You code the content relevant to the codes that are there. Very easy. Have some patience because there are a lot of codes and it'll take some time to get used to how many there are. Judging relevancy is pretty easy, but then coding the content will take time. We asked volunteers give us 3 to 5 hours a week. We know some weeks that'll be 1, some weeks it may be 7 or 8, depending on your time and availability. We're fine with it. Have patience. Make sure. We much prefer people to be coding correctly rather than rushing through. Here's a quick legal notice. We cannot capture this content and distribute it to the general public. We can do it as we are, which requires a password and is doing it just for research purposes. So What that means is, do not cut and paste the entire content you get from our screen when you're coding it and send it to anyone. Don't post it on Facebook. Don't send it to anyone. Don't post the links to Facebook that are relevant to our URL when you're coding. So this link right here, because it's password protected, no one will see anything. If you want to post the content of the article, or if you want to post the article, hit the original link, go to the original link, share that one. No problem. Okay? Otherwise, we get in all kinds of copyright infringement issues, which we want to avoid. Frequently asked questions. How to handle vague attributions. A lot of times you'll see crime happened in Chicago in a neighborhood, police say this, or police sergeant says this. If it happened in Chicago and it's police related, it is 99.9% of the time going to be the Chicago police. Code that as Chicago police. Same thing in Cook County. Cook County Court today, the prosecutor said this. That prosecutor is the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, is relevant to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. In Cook County Court, that means the Cook County Circuit Clerks. I'm a Circuit Court of Cook County. So you get used to some of those vague attributions. Should I worry about overcoding? We much prefer that you overcode to undercode. If you overcode, our research analysts can go through when we're doing the research and parse out some of those if for some reason they don't deserve to be there. If you undercode, which is they just don't appear under the state's attorney or the police or violence or drugs or gangs, we may not be able to find them. So we much prefer overcoding rather than undercoding. It doesn't mean hit every code in every article, please. But if you have a question, overcode rather than undercode. Should we code what seems to be the same article over again if they are in the database? The answer to this is yes. Often, especially the Tribune and the Sun-Times, will post a story to their website because it's breaking news. And then every hour or two, there adds paragraphs. Sometimes they keep the same URL. Sometimes they keep changing it over time. So it'll seem like you've coded the same article 5 times under different URLs. Don't worry about it. Code them. We can parse it out later. Okay? Here's one other thing. We include a map, and it's not the easiest to see here, but let me blow it up a little bit for you. This map, there we go. Basically what this map is here for is really this. This is a list of the community areas in Chicago. So you might hear shooting in Chicago lawn. Or if you're not from Chicago, you might assume that that is something that's a different entity or town all of itself and not included in Chicago. And that would be incorrect. That is Chicago. They often go by community areas. They may not even say the city of Chicago. It may be in Belmont Cragen or Armour Square. So if you have questions, you can revert to this and make sure the neighborhood is, the community area is the community area and it isn't part of Chicago. Here's the last part of the training, which is, this is gives you the codes down the left side, the short abbreviations, then what the full name is, and then there's some descriptions and some keywords. Most of this I've already went over, but let me just say that the biggest issue we've experienced with our volunteers, talking to them over the years now, is GLBTQ, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer community violence. The media is not sure how to handle this most times, and they will come up with really unique ways of phrasing stuff so you get the idea of what's going on without actually saying it. So you'll see man found dead in apartment, or no, they'll say man dressed in women's clothes found dead in an apartment. You'll hear varying euphemisms using that type of language. You'll hear alternative sexuality or lifestyle, cross-dressing, same-sex relationship, partner, domestic partner. If you see that, that is most likely involving crimes perpetrated either upon or by members of the GLBTQ community. So you need to code it that way. So just you'll start getting used to the euphemisms. They hardly report on this as it is, but it's something you need to know. So these are some of a little short description of each category and the some extra keywords to be on the lookout for. So that's basically the training. If you have questions beyond this, please let me know. After you go through the training, we ask volunteers to email us and let us know they're still interested. And then we will assign you a user ID and password so we can know exactly what you're doing while you're coding. It's unique to each individual. And then we will, you can start. And then we send you a time period also. So once again, I'd like to thank you for your interest in CJP's volunteer training and volunteer program. We really appreciate the work. We've had dozens and dozens of people now go through this and have, coded, almost probably at least 100,000 articles for us to this date, which is an amazing Herculean effort, and we really appreciate it. Thank you again, and I look forward to getting your email about being excited about continuing on in the program. Thank you. Have a great day.